Remember how yesterday we talked about Taylor Lorenz dropping that uh, Wired article about how there are a bunch of Democrat influencers that are receiving dark money from a group that's limiting what they can talk about? That actually really popped off. Not the video specifically, I mean the topic. Can somebody please find me an archive of that article again? The last time I asked for it, you popped it into my mouth like 2 seconds after. Okay, no, well, never mind then. I really do want that though. Yeah, it's gotten this like wave of responses. Yesterday you didn't stream. Oh yeah, we took a look at David Pacman's the other day, and I was really unconvinced. Yeah, the Wired article. You all remember? Okay, so the allegation is essentially that there is a dark money group that has been funneling money into a bunch of like centrist, DNC friendly, independent online figures, right? And that in the contract that you sign with them that gets you the money, among other things, there's an expectation that this dark money group gets to make decisions about what kind of content you produce and what kinds of political figures you talk to. Like, you have to run interviews past them. And in response to this article coming out, a bunch of people have acted like really, really sus about it, you know? It's all basically followed the same template. This is Deepak, but there's a bunch like it, you know? Where they all claim that the Wired hit piece has been debunked, like over and over again. They claim it's been debunked. I haven't seen anyone debunk it. I'm curious to see if there's anything more in the videos that I'm going to see, but so far I have not seen anyone debunk it. And they do the classic, like, you know, it's fake, let's move on, basically. Like, here's another one that's like that. Look at the similarity in the language here. After a recent Wired hit piece, now fully debunked, false claims started circulating. Sadly, some people chose to unsubscribe from my website membership, Substack, or unfollowed on YouTube. This outcome is exactly what the author was hoping for when they put out a misleading and inaccurate article. If you want to support what I do, consider subscribing. And then here's this other one. Because of a recent Wired hit piece that has now been debunked, misinformation spread like wildfire, and several people decided to unsubscribe from my Substack. This is what the author wanted despite publishing a false article. Please consider subscribing to support my work today. Same template. Little interesting. Yeah, the auto pen, the dreaded auto pen they're always talking about Democrats using. Seriously though, like a lot of people are giving these basic template response, and a lot of the more aggressively pro-DNC organizers, like the person who runs Project Liberal, I think they posted a meme where they said Taylor Lorenz was one of the like greatest assets of the right wing. Basically, it's looking like they got caught taking money from a shady dark money group, and they're being told through like an internal press release how to handle it. But let's take a look. Let's take a look, okay? There are a couple of like choice videos that I want to look at. Organizer memes, which has been fully on the like cope, nothing is wrong here, look away side. Highlighted this video, which is quite long, but we're going to look at it. Highlighted this video as a sterling example, like the best response they've seen to how Taylor Lorenz is lying and the article is wrong. So I want to take a look.
For being very critical of the Democratic Party. And hello, I am a leftist that is known for being very critical of the Democratic Party. And I'm a member of a training program called Chorus that teaches political content creators on the left how to grow their platforms and make content creation into a full-time job. I have a slew of...
Remember when we saw the Deepak video, he talked about this a bit as well, how the idea is you sign up and you receive money with this Chorus program. You get like influencer training, that sort of thing. But in addition, right, the thing that I care about, again, is not necessarily that they're getting money from a dark money group. I think you should disclose when you're receiving money for political purposes. I think most people would agree on this. I think it's good to do that. I think that, like, all of you guys would probably lose a lot of faith in me if it was broken that I receive a huge amount of money monthly from a political organizing group that has specific expectations as to what kind of content I should produce. Like, even if my position's already aligned with the positions of that group, at the very least, it's, you know, suspect. But it's not the money itself that I really take issue with. It's, to me, the fear that I have that this is an effort being made by a Democrat-aligned super PAC to basically try to take all of these independent, dem-aligned liberals online and prevent them from shifting away from the Democratic Party. The same way that their voter base is, for example. Like, the Democrats are really unpopular with their voter base right now. And it's not unlikely to me that some of their wealthier donors might be thinking, we can't have a bunch of people shift away from liberalism towards like critique of the Democratic Party, because if they do that, then there's no way the interests of the donor class and the Democrats, which have long been prioritized, will continue to be prioritized. We need to find a way to like incentivize these independent content creators to keep on being, you know, stalwart allies. That's my fear. You ever been contacted by these types of groups? Like this, to my knowledge, no.
Receipts to explain why a very fear-mongering article that came out yesterday about how this program works is just very like inaccurate.
The sub was defending the chorus dark money stuff and we're pretty nasty about Taylor Lorenz. Well, we'll deal with the subreddit soon, and part of my ongoing effort to kind of remodel the community a little bit and make it a bit more related to me. But my issue with Taylor Lorenz is that she's overexcitable, sometimes cringe, has at times demonstrated some poor journalistic ethical practices, and is annoying. But none of these are critiques of the article itself. The allegations in the article seem pretty straightforward. Also, I don't think Taylor Lorenz is like a bad person or anything. Who isn't annoying? I'm annoying.
And I think I'm a good person to talk about this because I've seen a lot of people afraid that this program is just a way for Democrats to pay people off to blindly defend Democrats on the internet. And I understand the fear because that would be diabolical if it was true. But this is a video of me like yelling at the DNC literally yesterday over their refusal to endorse an arms embargo against Israel. I am not one to hold back on criticizing the Democratic establishment. So I think I'm useful proof that that's not what this program's about. I do feel there's people in this cohort who shill a little bit too hard for the Democrats, but that's a them problem, not a this program problem. Without further ado, let's get into the claims of the article versus my receipts. Okay, so the first like main big scary thing that's written into this article is creators told Wired that the contract stipulated they'd be kicked out and essentially cut off financially if they even so much as acknowledged that they were part of the program or that Chorus existed. No. Here's a video of someone named Heidi who's in the cohort explaining what Chorus is and that she's joining it on November 20th, 2024. Here is the Chorus website that is public facing, anyone can see it, with literal pictures of creators that are in the cohort. In the contract I signed, there is some language that says, hey, please, like before you make a public statement about what Chorus is, just check with us. The reason for that is that as the article states, there's over 90 influencers in the program, many of whom have very small accounts and joined the program to get like mentorship and happen to be immigrants or trans in a red state, right? And like already happen to be kind of in extra danger right now. And so the goal with the like, please check with us clause was to make sure that small creators who already had targets on their back weren't accidentally like featured on a huge page and then suddenly have an onslaught of threats from the right. Chorus has never been kept some.
That doesn't seem like a very compelling reason to me at all. Some people publicly partnering with Chorus, that's not quite the same as, like, look, a bunch of people were secretly on Chorus. Like, the reason we're having this conversation is because a bunch of people who were part of this program hadn't announced it. Is the argument then that people like David Pacman weren't supposed to announce they were part of Chorus? Brian Tyler Cohen? Like they were, you know, they're trans in a red state? I don't really buy this. They clearly were expecting some degree of secrecy. Otherwise, why the secrecy? Like, why? It's normal to disclose when you're receiving money as part of a political program. If the program has a front-facing website and it's known some creators are a part of it, that just makes it even more odd that people who were involved in it would be quiet about the nature of the program and the money that it pays out and what it entails, you know?
Nefarious secret, right? People have been talking about it. It was more just, hey, this is already an unsafe job for some people. Check with us in advance so you don't accidentally like add to someone's unsafety. Okay, number 2, according to copies of the contract viewed by Wired, creators in the program must funnel all bookings with lawmakers and political leaders through Chorus. No, again, I literally have the contract right here. I'll talk through it in a minute, but first let me show you this. Here's an email of me directly reaching.
Oh, okay. Chorus will provide contractors with access to the Chorus newsroom, which coordinates booking and engagement opportunities for creators with government officials, policy and nonprofit experts, and others whose expertise and experiences are relevant to Chorus's progressive policy agenda. Contractor agrees to 1. Utilize the Chorus newsroom to book engagements. 2. Disclose to Chorus newsroom personnel any engagements with government officials or others on topics related to Chorus's policy agenda, and that contractor arranges through other means. And then 3, something Chorus regarding all such something engagements. Again, Wired has access to these contracts. I'd like it if I could see them in their entirety.
Literally have the contract right here. I'll talk through it in a minute, but first let me show you this. Here's an email of me directly reaching out to the Zoran campaign to try to interview him, because Chorus does not control who I interview or what I post. I also sometimes test the comms directors directly of like Congress people that I want to interview, because usually the congressional offices will give out these little business cards. And this is not like specific to content creators. This is just like if you go to...
I mean, the reason I gave the Wired article so much credence to begin with is because it was making empirically provable or disprovable claims about the content of the article. Like, if they were just straight up lying about the contents of the multiple, or sorry, of the contracts, if they were just lying about the multiple, like, contracts that they had received, it seems like it'd be really, really, really easy to disprove that, you know? IMO, the trans/immigrant defense, is an obvious cynical attempt to deflect criticism. It does kind of sound that way, doesn't it? Yeah, the reason why a bunch of people were secretly on Chorus's payroll is because we were trying to protect trans immigrants in red state. Come on. Come on.
Try to talk to your senator. Their people will give you little business cards. I blurred out the name of the specific person because I feel awkward, but like anybody can get these business cards and then you can just text them. Chorus does not control that. I've done lots of congressional
That doesn't really address the claim being made by the Wired article.
Interviews, and usually I just set them up myself. And here's the section of the contract, right, that confirms that. It says they want you to disclose to Chorus any engagement with government officials related to Chorus's policy agenda. That contract.
Okay, number 3, and collaborate fully with Chorus regarding all such blank other engagements.
You to disclose to Chorus any engagement with government officials related to Chorus.
Also, regarding all such separately arranged engagements, right? Like, the point number 3 that she's just barely covering with her head seems like it's saying that you're expected to coordinate with Chorus even when you're engaging with political officials outside of their newsroom program. That's running it by them. That's what the Wired article is saying, that you have to run these engagements by Chorus before having them. That's what the Wired article is saying.
Policy agenda. That contractor, that's me, I'm the contractor, arranges through other means, right? So if I just arrange it myself with a congressperson, I just let Chorus know so that they know that congressperson's open to booking and other people in Chorus can do it too.
That's what the Wired article is saying. That's what it's saying, that you're expected to coordinate with Chorus on that.
I always forget to let Chorus know. Like, I don't think I've ever told them that before, but that's not what's important. What's important is that they're literally acknowledging here that you can book it yourself. And the fact that
if she could move her head just a little bit, I could see the full text.
That's not what's important.
3, collaborate fully with Chorus regarding all such separately arranged engagement, contract something, participates in newsroom opportunity. I want to know.
What's important is that they're literally acknowledging here that you can book it yourself. And the fact that the person who wrote this article claims to have read through the entire contract, but like, here it is.
Collaborate fully with Chorus regarding all such separately arranged engagements. Collaborate fully. Is that not that's what the article is saying? You're indignantly disproving the claim made in the article, but my understanding looking at this is that you're proving the claim made in the article. Contractor agrees to 1, utilize the Chorus newsroom to book engagements, 2, disclose to Chorus newsroom personnel any engagements with government officials or others on topics related to Chorus's policy agenda that contractor arranges with through other means. That's everyone, by the way. Like, every political figure, government officials or others on topics related to Chorus's policy agenda. The policy agenda is political, right? Any political figure you bring on, you run it by them. And then collaborate fully with Chorus regarding all such separately arranged engagements. That's exactly what the Wired article was saying, wasn't it?
Clearly written that what you stated in your article was categorically false. Like, that is quite concerning about your journal.
I'm being gaslit. I'm being gaslit. Here's the article. I'm being girl bossed, kept gate lighted. Here. But following the initial outrage, some creators expressed concern about some stipulations. According to copies of the contract viewed by Wired, creators in the program must funnel all bookings with lawmakers and political leaders through Chorus. Creators also have to loop Chorus in on any independently organized engagements with government officials or political leaders. If I want to work with another politician, I have to fully collaborate with them, said one creator who was offered the contract but ultimately declined to take it and asked not to be named. If I get Zoran and he wants to do an interview with me, I don't want to give that to them. That's exactly what was in the contract that she was just standing in front of. I gotta say, it really does make them look shady, doesn't it? Like, it's not helping.
Journalistic integrity. Like, I get that these contracts are long and confusing. That's why people have lawyers and managers to help them, but you don't write an article about it unless you understand what's going on. This whole article is just written like, you know, this group, they have money and so they control them. And it's just like, no.
No, it made specific, fairly moderate claims that you're reinforcing.
That's not what's happening. If there's someone in this cohort that you are like, they are too much of a shill doing whatever the Democratic Party says, it's not this program that's the reason for that. I don't know how to put this nicely. It's either a personal moral failing by those people, or it's a different contract they're under that says they can't criticize Dems, but it's not this one, because I'm under this contract and you can catch me on the daily making fun of Andrew Cuomo, pissed at Cory Booker, calling for Chuck Schumer to lose his job. Take your pick. I have heard of contracts that exist that restrict what people can say bad about Democrats, but this is not one of them. This contract actually has no bearing on a single thing that we ever post, which brings me to my next section. The next part, and this is a really important part, I'm going to try to explain this as well as I can,
but it does. It just said that it does. You were in front of it, and it said that. It required you to loop them in. It said that in the contract. And we're only seeing the parts of the contract that you're showing to us.
Feel free to comment questions, is that the contracts reviewed by Wired prohibit standard partnership disclosures. What she's talking about, okay, a standard partnership disclosure is when you make a video in partnership with an org like the ACLU, and so then you put ACLU partner as a disclosure in your caption. There is very important context left out of this article of why the standard disclosures aren't the kind we use at Chorus, and that's because Chorus never pays us to make a video. The author of this article actually said that in a comment. You're correct that Chorus doesn't pay you to post specific content. Chorus is a training program where I learn things like what lights to buy if I want to film a YouTube video, and what...
Come on. Yeah, man, they're putting out $8,000 a month. They're giving you money so you can take programs to make you a better content creator. Come on. Thinks I was born yesterday. Yeah, those motherfuckers are generous. This must be how Kamala Harris ended up in debt after raising like $2 billion in a 3-month presidential campaign and then losing, you know? How the f are you in debt after that? Well, now we know. It's generosity like this.
Policy experts are saying about gerrymandering in Texas and National Guard in DC. So since Chorus is about like personal development and they're never paying you to make a video, of course you're not putting like Chorus partnership in your caption. That's not how that would work. So I don't fault anyone who read this sentence and was like...
That makes sense, but also like, again, if you were part of a cool, exclusive partner training program where you're getting paid, I feel like more people would disclose it. And the fact that so many people didn't is really telling. Because normally, if a person is offered money and sort of consultation and support through a program, that is something that one would expect them to disclose. I don't really like the dark money stuff, man. I think it should be out in the open. There should be left think tanks that just openly employ people. The right does that all the time. Who gives a... Make a big think tank or policy group or whatever or PAC, and it's just like, yeah, we're out here supporting America's best, the independent creators that love America the most and want to support it, yeah, and then just publicly, yeah, here's our sponsor list or whatever, here's who we love. You missed out, Nate K. You could have gotten advice telling you to put up a curtain for sound dampening. That's true. That's true. For all you guys know, I'm on the program, and the reason why I haven't been doing any segments on Israel for the past, like, year, it's not actually because my positions are extremely well known and it felt borderline nihilistic to continue. It's actually because I've been receiving a fat stack of cash every month for it, you know? But that's the thing with dark money. You wouldn't know, right?
That is so evil, because a lot of people who consume content don't necessarily know the way that the logistics of, like, you know, your partnership labels work. But I am frustrated at the author of this article for not adding like the relevant context here, because she is not supposed to publish an article unless it's been like very fact checked and contextualized. And
buddy,
this was like very misleading. And then I also highlighted this section. I accidentally talked about it already earlier in the video. The, you know, creators will not publicize the relationship with Chorus or tell others they're a member of the program without Chorus's prior express consent. This is the protecting small creators part, but also lots of things in contracts are written very strict in case of legal emergency. I've told plenty of people casually that I'm in Chorus, and Chorus does not care. They've expressly told us that that's fine. This is just for if someone does something like diabolically evil.
But all this did still have to come out through investigative journalism. It's like totally cool if you disclose it, but you have to run it by them first, and a ton of people didn't. And now everyone's scrambling with like very similar sounding defenses of themselves to you know, act as though it all didn't happen.
And Chorus has to sue them, and they can just be like, girl, the contract. Like, it makes it easier in court. They don't really care about it otherwise. It's not top secret. If you want more examples of people who've publicly talked about Chorus for a while, I'm happy to provide them. Feel free to comment. I just used Heidi's example because I think it's just very obvious. Okay, I have 2 more things to address in this video, and then feel free to comment if you have more things you want me to explain. But the first is, we've talked a lot about what Chorus is not, because that article led people to believe that it was this, you know, plot by the DNC to be able to just pay people off to blindly obey them. Now that that's...
Is there any evidence so far they're doing anything to dissuade people from opposing Israel? Well, the contracts that they signed explicitly said that like you're expected to fall in line with a certain set of policy position. Sorry, I'm using overly narrative language. That it is expected that you stay in line with their progressive agenda. She hasn't said anything to debunk that, and frankly, she's been openly lying about the stuff she has been covering, so even if she did, I wouldn't really believe it unless I saw the entire contract and read it through. My guess is that this is an effort to try to, like, rope a bunch of independent creators in and get them dependent on the income that they get from the contract so that over time down the line, Chorus can exert a little bit more control, a bit more editorial control over what they can and can't say. It's a really, really common tactic, right, for buying out opposition. You start by getting them a little bit hooked, a little bit dependent. You know, maybe a lot of these smaller content creators, for them, you know, even like $1,000 a month is a huge deal, right? It's the difference between like shopping for discounted food at the cheapo grocery store and being able to get some like nicer stuff, you know? And then one day the press release from within Chorus comes out and it says like, hey, listen, we want to focus on these principles and these priorities. So we would appreciate it if you would deprioritize talking about these subjects. This is the problem with dark money, man. When the contracts are all secret and everyone's hiding what they're getting. And then you also have like a pre-existing bias towards DNC affiliate positions, because again, that's where the money's coming from, right? A DNC affiliate super PAC. There's a huge risk for that kind of public control. We don't know all the details of what they were told. We don't know how many times people in this program were discouraged from saying what or told to say what, you know? But it's worth considering how dishonest and panicked the response has been to this being outed. It really doesn't give this program a great air of like authenticity and independence.
That's been debunked. Let's talk about what Chorus actually is. I have my Google Calendar for the week here to explain. Every morning we start off with a news update meeting. Okay, we meet for 15 minutes. I wake up and I'm immediately just told what the news of the day is, and we all get a chance to ask like questions if we want to know how a specific lawsuit is developing or what is
interesting. So you get your news from them.
Trump expected to do next with the National Guard, right? We're just making sure we're all the most informed. These are very brief. Sometimes they're 5 minutes.
Dems are in a lose-lose here. This is only a scandal because Taylor Lorenz framed it that way. No, it's a dark money super PAC funneling money to people under shady circumstances with the expectation of some degree of political compliance. The contract explicitly says you have to start making parts of your content subordinate to the program. Like, it is a scandal. Guys, I want more money to circulate in independent left sources. I just don't want it to be like shady DNC dark money from people who, in my opinion, down the line, will try to shift people away from talking about Israel. You know? Like, again, this is a DNC affiliate super PAC. These are not progressives. This is a project being fielded by mega donors that run a super PAC. Like, do not get it twisted.
Then 3 times a week in the afternoon, we have a more like specific training. On Mondays, we have technical trainings. That's where we learn about a specific platform. So like someone will come and explain how you start a Substack or how you start YouTube long form. On Wednesdays, we have advocacy training, which is where we hear from an expert in a specific policy field. So recently it's been a lot of people who work in like immigration explaining ICE or explaining the logistics of the National Guard, that kind of thing. And then Fridays are a little bit more flexible and they're optional. I haven't gone to them, so I like won't speak on it. And that is the weekly schedule. And the whole point of it is that
I'm sure you can all see how this kind of comes across. Like, at the very least, it has the potential to be Democrat-aligned media training. It's not just about supporting people who are already producing content. It absolutely shapes the content, which is the concern.
You're like developing your channel over the course of 6 months so that hopefully by the end of it, you can be your own self-sufficient full-time content creator. Because people who work in politics on social media often have a hard time getting funding. Like, it's hard to make it your job. Okay. But the right does a really good job of making it people's jobs, such that the political right actually pushes out 500 times as much content as the political left. That's an actual statistic every single day. They are outperforming us in volume incredibly because they just make sure that people can do it as a job. That's what this program is trying to accomplish to counter like the manosphere.
Okay. The problem is that we have a higher burden of evidence and moral righteousness we have to adhere to. The reason they do that is because all of them are shills who lie shamelessly and toe the party line and just get their talking points and marching orders from like central sources. Those right-wing YouTubers or whatever are all in group chats where they literally like coordinate, oh, here's what we're going to ramble about or whatever. They might not say it that explicitly, but like there's not a lot of integrity over there. And I think the problem is that like by trying to model that approach, and you're already starting on bad footing with the whole like dark money thing, with the whole DNC boot camp thing, is that the goal might just be to produce or at least shape a bunch of thoughtless pro-DNC influencers. Maybe not today, maybe 6 months from now or a year from now, you know? It wouldn't be a very successful propaganda program if the prerequisite for joining up was that you already had to be the kind of person who would agree to be a DNC shill.
Last thing I want to talk about is my belief that the election funding system in this country is like fundamentally broken. And I want to talk a little bit about the logistics of dark money because it's not really explained in this article. Dark money is when someone does fundraising for the purpose of influencing elections, right? Like giving it to a campaign through nonprofit organizations so that they don't have to disclose the identity of the original donor. So for example, right, we all know that Donald Trump is helping the Cuomo campaign in New York. Now that's embarrassing for Andrew Cuomo is the problem. So if Trump wants to give money to the Cuomo campaign, but doesn't want anyone to know it was him, he can give it to a dark money organization that again gives it to Cuomo and nobody can trace it back to Donald Trump. I don't like that system. And to be clear, most Americans don't, like, except for the billionaires, we're pretty much all Republican and Democrat, like on the same page that that system is really bad. So
it's money going from a super PAC to a political program that is silently funding quote unquote independent creators without disclosure, without expectation of disclosure, and providing what could be, I think, considered like political instruction. Doesn't that count?
I was excited to join this incubator program at Chorus for a while. It was the first of its kind on the left. I felt like it was really important for me as a leftist to be there. I mean, this way I can encourage people to be more critical of Israel, encouraging them to push their representatives a little bit harder. To me personally, I find
this sounds like overcompensating to me a little bit. Like, guys, I'm still on the left. I don't know this woman. Maybe you are on the left. That's fine. But people defend themselves when pushed into a corner. You're defending yourself right now. I understand. Okay, I know you've been critical of Israel. I know that. I know that about you. You've been critical of Biden and so on. I understand. But the criticisms of the program remain.
it important to be in rooms with people who are...
Like, this is, by the way, what we're looking at is basically a best-case scenario for the most sinister version of Chorus, right? We're looking at a leftist who maybe, I'm suggesting a narrative. I don't know if it's true. Maybe this is a leftist who was initially very antagonistic towards the DNC, but was willing and amenable to join this secretive Chorus program because they wanted the money and they thought they could benefit from the political instruction. Now, after some length of time, they're in a position where they're willing to, and I will say this definitely, lie to defend the program. A program funded by DNC super donors, by a PAC. So if the goal is to take leftists and mold them into something a little more compliant, a cynic might say, this is still a success story. Even if she's being critical of Israel or whatever, you know? You've still successfully moved a person closer to a position or set of positions that's amenable to that group of people. Just my guess, just my suggestions. I don't know. That's my concern.
Less critical of the system than I am, because I have the hope of like nudging these people into more strong advocacy. And that's not always going to work, but sometimes it does. And so when the leaders of Chorus came to us and they were like, we're finally launching the program, we finally found someone to fund this, it's the 1630 fund. I was like, right, okay, not the biggest fan of their other work. Let me think on this. And obviously I ended up joining, but it was not without serious deliberation with my friends and my family and my management and the people who run Chorus. And ultimately, like, I want to sort of lay out for you who may be curious what my thought process looked like. I decided that my distaste for the fact that the 1630 fund funds some, congressional Democrat campaigns with methods that I don't like was outweighed by the potential benefit of a separate program where they have no control over what I say, where I'd be a leftist voice in a first of its kind incubator program for 90 people to combat the manosphere. I was like, you know what?
I feel like I'm being sold a pitch. Yeah, I feel like we've gotten everything we can from this one. Yeah, I'm being sold a pitch right now. Here, let me in so many words, we know she's been dishonest towards the beginning, but now it's like, in so many words, let me explain to you how the dark money DNC affiliated super PAC that's backing the program and the specific ways in which they have control over my content have no bearing whatsoever on my authenticity as a leftist. But also don't look into why nobody disclosed the money they were getting. That's not the only one we're looking at. Here's another one.
Because it's just sort of
That's
frustrating.
Taylor.
Everyone is willing to just believe lies.
The article that Taylor Lorenz wrote about me and a number of...
Here's an arch DNC shill. She met with Biden. Actually met with Biden alongside Pac-Man during one of Biden's very few sort of like tennis balls being tossed in the direction of the independent online left, you know. See, she is a huge lid. No pun intended.
Other content creators who are part of the Chorus cohort is filled with factual inaccuracies. First and foremost, we are not paid to make content. We are not paid by the Democratic Party. Chorus does not...
No, you're paid by a program funded by a Democrat-affiliated super PAC, which is how this always works, right? And you're not paid to make content. You're paid to be a content creator affiliated with the program. But you're not paid for specific videos.
Not have any creative control over any of the content that I make, over any of the people that I talk to, and they have never and will never tell me what I can or cannot say. The contract that we sign does not pay us for content. It is the same as somebody giving seed money to a small business to build their infrastructure so that that business can go on to be self-sustaining. And
okay. But when seed money is given, or an investment, if you prefer, investments pay interest. That's the point of an investment. If you offer seed money, like, the idea is that it gets paid back. So how are you paying them back is the question. Like, unless you're sincerely arguing this is being done out of the, like, magnanimous tendency of a super PAC, you know? Like, why would you make that comparison?
The future. That is effectively what Chorus is. It offers small creators and content creators technical trainings and operational guidance on how to build their own long-term self-sustainable platform.
We pay you to teach you how to set up a ring light. Okay.
If you want to get into the weeds about all of those things, you can go watch the videos that were posted by Elizabeth Booker Houston and Ali O'Brien. By the way, two people...
We just saw the Ali O'Brien one, didn't we?
Who are part of this cohort who have been consistently critical of the Democratic Party since all of this started, which debunks the other claim you have, which is that we have to be nice and uncritical of the Democratic Party.
That wasn't a claim the Wired article made. That she's just making that up. The Wired article didn't claim that. I think there's the potential for that kind of impropriety, but the article didn't make the claim that it was like a condition of being paid that you had to be a DNC shill. Certainly it's a, you know, there are pressures exerted in that direction, but...
It might be easy to convince people on the
I gotta say, it really doesn't make them look good that all of them have gotten this defensive. Like, it's... I'm trying to think, like, how would I respond if I was in their position? Like, maybe, and I'm trying to construct this in a way that I think I could do it, like I could imagine myself in that position. I think I could imagine this. I would say, like, there's a content creator program that was pitched to me that was meant to help left-leaning people. And I was like, oh, sure, why not? You know, I'll give it a shot. And they were like, yeah, we're willing to pay you too. Like, we want to support left content online. I'm like, okay. And I don't really think that much about where the money comes from. And... see, because here's where it breaks down, because I would always mention it to stream. At least I think so. I can't imagine what would have to be told to me to not mention that I'm getting money. And then also the program is like exerting pressure in a particular direction by encouraging classes where I listen to... I can't imagine myself doing that. But if I did do that and it came out and my intentions were pure, which is possible, you know what I think I would do? You know what my like ukulele apology video would be? I think I would say... You're right. Yeah, no, that is dark money. I'm sorry. Yeah, I wasn't thinking about it. I was thinking about the good, and I was thinking about it, and my opinions were colored by the fact that it was convenient to me, but it never really occurred to me how potentially sinister something like that could be. Like, I think I would have to own up to that, if that makes sense. Does that make sense? Like, if I was in that position, I think I would have to own up to that. I might even defend the program, like its intentions, but with that element, I think I would have to be conciliatory. But that's not the tone I'm seeing from these people.
outside and to convince other creators that the things that you're saying about 1630 and about Omidyar and about journalism are all true. But unlike a lot of other creators and people on the outside, I have experience in the nonprofit world, the nonprofit compliance world, and in journalism, which is why
this is a lot of like unearned snark, I have to say. Like, this is an inappropriate tone to take when you've been outed in the fashion that you've been outed. You know what I mean? Like, you're talking like you're on the offense, which is not the situation you're in.
I am absolutely dumbfounded that your article was even published in the first place.
Still hasn't listed a single thing wrong about it, by the way.
When you submit a piece of content or a piece of writing to someone in an editorial manner, they go through a rigorous fact-checking process. So the fact that your article, which was...
Unfortunately, there's no money on the left, so how would you even combat the immense online right-wing influence without big money from corporations like the DNC? For one, make the money public. It doesn't have to be secret. Just offer the money freely, or have grants. Literally, just do a grant program. Like, this year, we're handing out $2 million to fresh-faced, enterprising young creators who are interested in defending American democracy. That's one. Two, make your reps much more open to a comment and engagement and interview by online left-leaning creators. There are some Republican congressmen who are really easy to get a hold of for right-leaning media, but it's like Ro Khanna, AOC, there are only a couple who are easy to get a hold of on the Democrats, and they're usually relatively left-leaning. Like, a lot of Democrats just aren't really interested in engaging with that. You can talk about, like, better media engagement or synthesis. Like, why the are so many, like, Democrat news breaks exclusively pitched to shit like CBS? Who cares, you know? Try to develop a more robust relationship the way the right has. The right has developed such a robust relationship with its online grifter community that Carolyn Levitt literally has done like separate White House press briefings exclusively to online right-wing grifters, like Tim Pool types. They're allowed in the White House. They got to sit there in the press room of the White House and ask stupid questions of the goddamn press secretary. Like, there is a lot the Democrats could do to embolden that, but the problem is that every single method that I have just suggested would only further highlight the fact that Democrat voters and online Democrat content creators are both really upset with the party right now. They don't want to be interviewed because they know we're going to ask about Israel. They don't want to hand money out to people who are going to take that money and say, thanks, Democrats, you suck. Because you know what? They do. Republicans suck, but at least they give their constituency what they want. Democrats don't. And that's the reason why they don't want to do that engagement. They want to do all of their press releases with dispassionate news people who can just be bantied about with as though they're all part of the same social caste, which to an extent they are. They don't want to banter about with somebody who would be actually outraged at their failure to do anything about the GOP, because that would look really bad for them. Sorry.
Riddled with factual inaccuracies was published in the first place is mind-boggling to me. And you're all
okay, she's actually not saying anything. She's not even explaining like what's wrong with the article. Like, at least the previous person we looked at was talking about, I mean, she was being dishonest, but at least she was talking about it. Okay, here's the final boss. We'll only do the one more, I think, probably. Brian Tyler Cohen, one of the co-founders of the program, you know, the big boy. Let's hear it. I haven't seen this one. I have no idea what's in it. I can take a guess, though.
At the risk of giving an internet troll more attention, I want to...
Really? Jesus, that's how defensive we're starting off? Taylor Lorenz internet troll? That's really like a fair characterization? I mean, I'm blocked by her on my alt. It's not like I haven't been mean to her, but Jesus Christ.
Address a piece that Taylor Lorenz wrote yesterday for Wired. An initiative aimed at boosting Democrats online offers influencers up to $8,000 a month to push the party line. All they have to do is keep it secret and agree to restrictions on their content. Literally nothing in this.
I'm being real, by the way. When this story first broke, my thought was, oh, that was irresponsible for these creators to not disclose it. Now that I've seen how every single one of them has reacted, like dishonesty and defensiveness, now it's making me think if you were on that program, mentally, like, you're blacklisted to me. Like you are in a category of people that I can't trust at all now. Entirely because I'm sure there are some people that were on the group of 90 who are fine, but like every response that comes out from it is so aggressively defensive and dishonest. It makes me think like, no, the only people the chorus program were going out for were these like self-interested jackals who really would just adopt whatever talking points necessary to defend the hive, you know?
Statement is true. The article is about Chorus, which is a nonprofit that I helped found to build up a creator ecosystem, which everybody says they want, but few are doing. So here's what Chorus is. It is a scholarship program to teach creators how to grow their accounts, foster engagement, launch their own shows, and become profitable on their own. It's an incubator program to build the pro-democracy ecosystem. Influencers and creators have never been more important when it comes to how Americans are consuming their news.
We're going to get a pitch, I assume. We're going to get a pitch because he's one of the co-founders especially. What's surprising about them being defensive? Because I genuinely think that like if they cared about the things they pretend to care about, they would be more conciliatory about the secretive nature of the organization. Like these are people who have been criticizing the right relentlessly for years about the dark money. Remember the was it Tencent scandal where like a Russian company was funneling hundreds of thousands of dollars into a couple right-wing influencers? Like that was also secretive. They were also not disclosing that. Like a Tenant, thank you. It's the exact same thing, right? And Tim Pool also claims he wasn't being told what to say. Like it's the Tencent's the other thing. Sorry. You know what I'm talking about? Now I don't obviously in terms of severity, I don't think this is as bad as the Tenet Media thing. Like we're not, you know, it's not that bad in terms of how like morally compromised it is, but just no conciliatory, like, Jesus, why couldn't you just disclose it? Why couldn't just everyone say, like, I'm a part? Why couldn't it all be super out in the open? Why was it a surprise? Why did an article have to be written about it? Shouldn't people have the right to make these decisions themselves? Why does Taylor Lorenz and the people who worked on the article, why do they have to go out and disclose it? Shouldn't you be able to just say it openly and let people decide how they feel about it? If you said it openly and people are like, sounds like you're grooming people into being DNC shills, then just own that and argue against it. Say, no, here are people on the payroll or whatever who aren't acting that way. Like these people are critical of Israel. Who is hiding it? Shahrazadian, you have to read the article. This was investigative journalism. They broke the story. It wasn't known. Like the nature of this program wasn't known. The people who were on it, what was happening with it. There were elements of it that were known, like the fact that the chorus program existed broadly, but a bunch of details. What is this whole drama about, if not the release of information that must have, up until that point, been kept secretive?
The right has been doing this for years, and the left needs to catch up. That's why we're doing this with Chorus. So let's...
I don't like that argument. As I've outlined before, I think there are ways that you can empower and improve and fund the online left without doing sneaky bullshit like this. And listen, this to me is an actual race to the bottom. Unlike rhetoric you use against the right or like, you know, redistricting to get more blue seats or whatever, this right here is actually dangerous. But he would disagree because he's on the side of the people who it would benefit, DNC donors. Brian Tyler Cohen's no radical progressive. Of course he's fine with it. Because to him, the threat that people might be groomed into being more pro-establishment DNC, it's not a threat. It's a hope. Like, he wouldn't have an issue with that. I do. I think that our only hope forward as a country is for the DNC to be shaken awake, for it to be changed in some way that allows it to stand even a chance of fixing the death spiral that we're in right now. But the donors for the DNC don't want that because invariably this process would probably involve raising taxes. There's just no way around it. There's no way around it.
Talk about what Chorus is and what it's not. Chorus does not pay creators for content, does not tell them what to say, does not control who they talk to or work with, and there is...
Control is a vague word. We've seen what the contract stipulates in this field. We're kind of relying on the ambiguity of these terms, right?
Absolutely nothing in the contract that could even be reasonably interpreted to say that we do. Period. Full.
I think that's a lie. I think that's just a straight out lie. Requesting that people who sign the contract run all political or like political related figures by Chorus before speaking with them, like that's just a lie.
Full stop. I don't know a single creator who would willfully sign up for a program that would tell them what they can or can't say.
Machinima? That happens all the time. All the time. If you offer them money, it's money. You're offering them money. And also help. It doesn't say run it by them, like asking for permission. It says they have to disclose it to them. It's not just about disclosure, though. And for one, even disclosure on its own is something. Like if you disclose something they don't like, what happens? But also, it wasn't just about disclosure. It was about like the expectation that they can be used for the future in that program. Like there was soft power being exerted here. I don't understand what the point is in denying it. It's obviously there.
That's not what this program is. We pay people to show up to workshops and technical trainings to optimize their content online. For example, we've got trainings on...
What about the when you have policy experts go on and talk with you? Remember, the First Lady talked about that. Like, here's a policy expert. What about the 15-minute segment at the beginning where they're given like the news of the day? It's not difficult to imagine that those kinds of programs could very easily shape the priorities, biases, and, you know, content of a influencer, right?
How to package content for YouTube, trainings on how to optimize audience retention for Instagram and TikTok, trainings on how to form an LLC. Again, there are zero restrictions.
Also, again, then why are you paying them? And also, why an ongoing program? Like, you really need to offer David Pacman $8,000 a month and also keep him in for like weekly meetings to help him grow his audience? What are we talking about here? The fact that David Pacman is even on this program on its own debunks the idea that this is entirely about giving creators the ability to optimize their content. David Pacman is enormous. He's a huge, huge channel. He's clearly very good at running his channel. Ridiculous.
On their content. And by the way, the program works. In just 2 months, our cohort has added a combined 6 million followers, that's not including me, and seen their views and engagement grow. That is the point of the program, to teach creators how to be effective with whatever messages they want to promote. And with regard to keeping it a secret...
To be fair, Pacman talked about it as though he'd be a mentor for the smaller creators in the program. Yeah, but you'll notice that Brian over here isn't mentioning that. Oh, yeah, don't worry. We have some people on payroll, people like David Pacman, known apolitical figure, who will instruct smaller creators. Do you think there's a potential for political bias in there? That's not exactly just like a course on maximizing audience retention, is it? What do you think David Pacman's going in there to talk about? How he sets up his ring lights? What camera settings he uses? Come on. Let's, like... All I'm asking is that we not be children when we talk about, like, what this all means, okay?
There is a standard confidentiality clause in the contract to protect the privacy of the creators. On the literal first day of the program, it was made clear to all of the creators in our kickoff session that they were absolutely free to talk about Chorus. And we immediately followed up to confirm that in writing. Creators have...
And yet, contracts found by the Wired seem to disagree, and I haven't seen any evidence to the contrary, I suppose. Devil's proof. And additionally, it sure seemed like people were being quiet about it. I mean, I definitely didn't see a bunch of like Chorus payment disclosures going out beforehand.
Videos about Chorus. They've got donation links to Chorus in their bios. I myself have made videos that were posted all over the internet about Chorus that reached hundreds of thousands of people. It is not a secret, and it never was.
But Chorus being publicly known isn't the same as a person's individual status of being paid by Chorus is known, right? That's the dark money accusation. Like, super PACs can provide dark money to candidates, but you would not defend against that argument by saying that the existence of the super PAC is known. Oh, it can't be like this right-leaning super PAC. That's not dark money because we all know that super PAC exists. Okay, but we don't know where all the money's going, which is why it's dark money. You understand? See, again, like stuff like this should be 101 to somebody like Brian, okay? He's been immersed in politics for longer than I have. Like, all of this should be, if it was a right-leaning figure engaging in this kind of impropriety, I think that he would call it out and identify it. I think it's pure in-group bias to pretend at this, you know?
There's the implication in the article that this is some arm of the DNC, or the Democratic Party. We have literally nothing to do with the DNC. I spend 0 minutes of my day thinking about the DNC.
Funded by a DNC-aligned super PAC, a very large and wealthy one, whose money is provided by mega donors, is the preferred term, not super donors, who themselves regularly meet with Democratic influencers. Are we really doing this? Are we pretending super PACs aren't affiliated with the parties that they support? Are we really doing this? Like, come on.
The creators do not toe any party line. How could we? There isn't a party line. Creators are absolutely allowed to speak out against the Democrats, and in fact, plenty do. And
yes, I'm sure there's nothing in the contract that explicitly says you have to be a DNC shill. We're mostly talking about the secrecy and the exertion of soft power here, which I notice none of these people are talking about. None of these people are talking about or acknowledging the potential risk of soft influence, getting a person hooked on the money that they get from the program or just the support, the resources, the community, and then trying to cultivate their mindset by subjecting them to the bombardment of liberal bullshit in these programs, these soft expectations. Like, none of them are acknowledging it. I feel like they would if this was being done by a different group.
frankly, course creators should and do criticize Democrats when they suck, and quite often, they do suck. I've seen posts saying that this is APAC funded, which couldn't be further from the truth. I'd venture to guess that most course creators, myself included on both YouTube and Substack, have spoken out against the atrocities in Gaza. Lorenz says that the 1630 Fund is, quote, a powerful liberal dark money group. 1630 Fund is our fiscal sponsor. One of the largest documented donors to 1630 Fund is the same person funding Meteor's Reporters in Residence program, which Taylor Lorenz herself is a part of.
But Taylor Lorenz being a part of that program is publicly known, isn't it? That means it's not dark money. The problem isn't that it's super PAC money, which is how all money circulates in politics these days. It's that it's being done secretly. Taylor Lorenz, disclosed it. If Taylor Lorenz was being secretly funded by a PAC-backed program and didn't disclose that fact, and then it was revealed suddenly that she was receiving $8,000 a month for a politically affiliated program funded by people with political interests, unless we're going to pretend super PACs don't have those, you would probably call it out.
And guess what her monthly stipend is? $8,000 per month.
That's great. I have no problems at all with people making money on the internet doing politics stuff. See, doesn't this come across as like really dishonest? Like him pretending that the problem is that they're giving people money and not the secrecy of the giving the people the money, right?
So she's criticizing an entity that is funded by someone that she is currently taking money from.
See, this is like really, like this is knowing dishonesty. That's not naivete. This is a knowing lie. Brian's not stupid. This is a conscious choice to lie, which is like, damn. I hope some of the other people on this program are looking at this unfold and thinking like, damn, what have I aligned myself with, you know? This, from my perspective, this is like a desperate gasp to try to exert more control over an online left space that is increasingly fracturing with the Democrats. If you went back to the Obama years, or hell, even the first Trump term or early Biden, there were a lot of online left liberals or even progressives who were still kind of on board with the Democrats, you know, like they would engage with, and, you know, like, lefties have always been critical of Democrats, but you know what I mean. Now, that base of support has withered considerably, you know? It's really, really difficult to produce content online these days that's DNC aligned because they're so unpopular. Like, it's bad just for business reasons, let alone, like, the actual legitimate criticisms. It just comes across as really manipulative.
I guess it's okay when Taylor Lorenz gets paid, but no one else.
Fuck, man. Seriously? What a low IQ misdirection. Come on. That one right there is bad enough that I feel like it would play poorly even with like his audience, like people who are already favorable to him. That's really dishonest.
The monthly stipend that we offer is so that creators can do this work full time. We've had numerous creators in the cohort quit their jobs so that they can focus on creating content full time. That
Interesting. Sounds like they're really dependent on your program and the money it provides.
Is what we want. I'm really proud that we can give creators that security for as long as they're in the program.
Ooh. Oh. See?
We want people to create pro-democracy content full time, and we want to make sure that they can afford to pay their rent and their bills while doing it.
Kind of reinforces the potential for impropriety a little bit, doesn't it? If you think about it.
If I could have cohorts with 1,000 people in it so that everybody could be part of the program, I would. For everybody saying that they would like to be part of the next cohort, we would love for you to apply. That's our whole goal. It's to build up an army of pro-democracy content creators who can speak authentically about the issue.
Will their applications be publicly known, or will there have to be a follow-up from Taylor Lorenz to find out who accepts it?
Issues that they care about and be able to do it as effectively as possible. I should note that while I started this program, I have never and will never get paid. I do this 100% as a volunteer. I have never earned a dime from Chorus, and I never will. I want every dollar that we raise to go to creators so that they can do this.
Okay. Every dollar that we raise, your funder is a super PAC. Like, I understand you receive donations as well, but I think using the term raise here implies a level of grassroots community engagement that might not be representative of where your financing comes from. Also, the fact that you don't take money is about as impressive to me as the fact that Trump donates his presidential salary. Like, you're very successful. I wouldn't expect you to make money off this program. That's not the criticism.
This important work without spending 8 hours a day working at some different job. I've been saying for years that the left needs to build up its creator space. That has never been more true than it is right now.
Can we do it transparently? Especially if we're going to do it with super PAC money that's already affiliated with the DNC. Can we do it transparently?
Influencers and creators have never been more important when it comes to how Americans are consuming their news. The left is a decade behind right now. We desperately need incubators teaching and amplifying new content creators, and not just Chorus, by the way. There are other programs in this space doing the same thing. I want all of them to succeed. We need all of them to succeed. There are people like Taylor Lorenz who are desperate to tear the left apart, and
again, stuff like this. Even if you disagreed with what Taylor Lorenz was stating in that article, most of which was just basic investigative, like just factual descriptions of the contents of the contracts, the fact that they're giving no credence to the legitimate questions raised, no like sit down, hey, I understand how some people might be concerned that there could be a soft bias or like a soft influence here. No mention of that from any of these people. Just raw gaslighting and defensiveness. Really, really, really disgusting stuff. I didn't know Brian was this bad, honestly. I've felt that way about Pacman for a long time, ever since I raised $250,000 for the PCRF to help children in Palestine affected by, you know, Israeli bombs, and he suggested that the money might be going to Hamas. Ever since that pretty much locked my perception of the man in. But I guess I didn't realize Brian was like that as well. It's like a lot of people, I guess, are in this category.
in fact, it becomes clear who her efforts help when you hear stuff like this.
Genuinely, I kind of like Taylor Lorenz because I know that she actually believes what she says. Do you get what I'm saying?
So yeah,
Great argument. You think you might be like overcompensating a little bit here? Like you might even lead your own fans to be critical of you? Like you're not a Fox News host. Your fans are, at least to some extent, trained to recognize empirical reality. I feel like a lot of them might be keyed in on this. Taylor Lorenz isn't a evil ghoul, like an easy cheap shot target. She's been in the space and she's known and she's done work, and people have a variety of opinions, but like this is such a insane level of vitriol over and again, remember, the argument they're making is that there was nothing secret here. Then why the f are you acting this way when it all came out? Nothing secret here. Then why didn't you look at the article and go like, oh yeah, obviously you didn't know?
Generally don't align myself with friends of Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens.
Jesus Christ. Well, we know what they have to do now. Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens have to that we need one clip from them of them saying they like Brian Taylor Cohen, and then his career is done. He's so catty. He's so disingenuous, dude. I hate that argument. It's not an argument. Like, he knows he's lying.
I continue to believe that the left needs massive investments into the independent media.
Oh, and by the way, I hope this whole thing has reminded you guys, given how much the Republicans have been our lives up lately, I feel like the perspective might have gotten a bit skewed. This is the liberal side. This is what they are. This is what they represent. These are big creators. There's a lot of money and power here. Not as much as the Republican White House, but this is what I'm talking about. I do not think the average liberal voter or liberal American or whatever is like this, but I think that the closer you get to the top associated with the DNC or whatever, the more the moneyed interests start to influence you, the more likely it is you turn into this. This is really disgusting stuff, and I think it's really validated a lot of what Taylor Lorenz has said. Again, Taylor Lorenz's article on my own induced primarily skepticism and curiosity. After watching these, I'm radicalized. And some people are going to say, well, he was always going to feel that way, and I can't convince them otherwise, right? Like I'm putting on a pretense or something. But genuinely, like, I really didn't have any specific bias against that lady at the beginning of this or Brian here, you know? They earned it.
Space. I'm really proud of the program that we've built. I'm really proud that we've allowed creators to do this work full time. I'm really proud of the independence that they have to say whatever they want to say in whatever way they want to say it. I'm really proud that our creators are seeing their channels and their pages grow. My goal is to see an army emerge from the left to take on what's happening on the right. Taylor Lorenz and Republicans don't want to see it, but we do.
Taylor Lorenz and Republicans. This is just MAGA language, man. This is just like, ignore all nuance, gaslight, misdirect, move off the topic, don't address the subtler nuances, engage in us versus them language, oorah, oorah. It is literally blue MAGA behavior. Libs think we're stupid. Libs think their audiences are stupid, or at least Brian does. He's not talking to us. Not that I have any sympathy for Taylor Lorenz, but we didn't put any restrictions on what they could say as kind of a cop-out answer. That's how soft power works. I don't know what that means, but we literally don't put any restrictions on what people can say. Does Brian not know what soft power is? Wait, does he actually not know what soft... That's a very revealing thing to say. Soft power isn't about explicitly restricting people? Why would he say this? Why wouldn't he just ignore the comment? This is kind of a lose-lose. I don't know what to say. This is actually a lot worse than I thought it would be. You know, I'm really surprised. I don't know. It's very unfortunate.